All right, ladies and gentlemen, so today we're going to be dividing with decimals. Now, dividing with decimals is a little bit harder than multiplying with decimals, but it looks a lot like our standard algorithm. We just have to figure out what to do with our decimal point. So let's work through a problem and we'll figure out our rule here in just a second. So we've got 3 6/10 as our divisor, and we're going to actually divide the number 45 7/200. So 45 7/200 as our dividend divided by 3 6/10. Now, we have decimals in both our dividend and our divisor. When we have one in our dividend and we don't have one in our divisor, the division is really simple. We just simply pull our decimal point straight up into our answer and we do a regular standard algorithm long division. When we have a decimal though in our divisor, we have to do an extra step, and that's what we're going to worry about today. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take this decimal point and I'm going to move him one spot to the right. My new decimal point, I'm going to add with an unfilled looking little decimal right here. Now since I did this to my divisor, I'm going to have to do the same thing to the dividend. It's just like when we can multiply or divide a fraction by a number over itself to get a new looking fraction. What we're actually doing here is multiplying both by a power of 10. In this case, just 1/10. So we're going to move the decimal point one spot to the right, which is multiplying by a power of 10. So we're going to do the same thing in our dividend. We're going to move it from between the 5 and the 7 to the other side, to the right of the 7. Now, like I said before, we're going to take this decimal point now and we're going to move it straight up into our answer. This is where our decimal point is now going to live. This will be the part of our final answer that we'll use. Now we can just do like any regular long division problem. The decimal point will work itself out. We'll show you that here as we go. So now I'm going to think of this number as 36. I can actually, now that I've done this, if I want to keep things straight in my head, pretend like that decimal point is gone from over here, because now I've made this into a whole number. I have 36 into 457 and 2/10. That sounds a little more reasonable and easy to do. So 36, can I take groups of 36 out of 4? Of course not, it's way too large. But I can take a group of 36 out of 45. I can actually only just take one. So I'm going to put that in there. 2 times 36 would be 72, and I know that's way too large to take out of 45. So we'll stick with one group. We're going to have to subtract here, and we're going to have to borrow. That will be 3, so those will cancel out. So 15 minus 6 is, of course, 9. That is less than 36, so we are kosher on our first set of steps here. Now I need to figure out how many times, so I'm going to bring the 7 down. How many times now 36 can be taken out of 7, or how many groups I can take out of 97. Let's see. I am going to guess, off the top of my head, only 2 groups will go. The reason why is if I were to round this number up, it would be 40, right? 40 would go into, well, let's say 90. It would go in only 2 times, because 3 times 40 would be 120, because 3 times 4 is 12. That would be a little too large. So I'm going to guess 2 times I can take our 36 out of 97. We're going to do our multiplication now. 2 times 6 is 12. Put our 2 down, carry our 1 over. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 more gives us 7. That would be 72. Let's subtract it and see what we get. 7 minus 2 is 5, and 9 minus 7 is 2. 25 is pretty big, but is less than 36. That means we did the right amount out of that. So now we just need to figure out, we'll drop our 2 down, how many times 36 can be taken out of 252. Now, this seems like a really huge number, so I'm going to stop thinking about it as really big numbers, and I'm going to round this to somewhere between 3 and 4. I'm going to round this to around 25. Now, if I think through that, well, 4 would go into 25, let's see. Well, it would be close. 24 is 4 times 6. And if this was a 3, 3 would go into 25 8 times. So let's take our 6 and our 8. We'll go right in the middle, since this is pretty close to the middle here, and see if that works out. So let's try 7 times. We'll see if that works. If it doesn't, we'll try 6 times. All right, 6 times 7 would give me 42. I'd carry my 4 up. 3 times 7 is 21, plus another 4 would give me, hey, 25. Check that out. We were right on the dot. If we subtract 252 from 252, we get a remainder of 0, and we get to stop because we have worked with our last digit of our dividend. This now is our quotient, and ladies and gentlemen, since our decimal point's already been moved up to the right space, we are done. So, 45 and 7200ths divided by 3 and 6/10, that would give us 12 and 7/10. And that is pretty reasonable, because this number being 45 and 4, 4 times 12 would give me something around 48. And since this is between 3 and 4, 45 would be a very reasonable amount there. So 12.7 is a very reasonable answer. 127 would be far too large to multiply that by, and 1 and 2700ths would be way too small. This decimal point being here is the only thing that gives us a reasonable answer. All right, so our rule as we divide with decimals. Again, number 1, we're going to move, or if the decimal is only in the dividend, move up into answer. So if our decimal is just in our dividend, we just move the decimal point straight up, just like if it were 36 into 457 and 2/10. That's what we got for our number after we moved our decimal point. So if it's only in the dividend, we just move our decimal point straight up. It becomes part of our answer, and it will go where it needs to go. But if there is a decimal in our divisor, create a whole number by multiplying both the dividend and our divisor. By powers of 10. Once we have multiplied by powers of 10 and made our divisor into a whole number, the decimal point will be right where it needs to be in the dividend in order to go up and give you a correct answer. So that's how we divide with decimals. Again, if your decimal point is only in your dividend in a question, you don't have to worry about anything. You just move it straight up into your answer along the vinculum. That's what this weird line is called. So straight up on the vinculum, that will be how you would, that's the rule for when you only have a decimal in your dividend. If you have a decimal in the divisor, again, you're gonna multiply both your dividend and your divisor by the same power of 10. Your decimal point then will go straight up into your answer again, and it will go right where it needs to be to give you a correct quotient. All right, so that's dividing with decimals. Now that you've seen how it works out, go ahead and try the practice problems below, and then give the quiz a try once you have watched your Brain Pop videos to help you practice. All right, good luck today. We'll talk to you soon.